there, Haley Page here, and welcome back to my channel, Just Got Paged. As you can see, we are back in the Haley Page showroom, and it is yet another New York Bridal Fashion Week. In my last video with Bridal Market, I took you behind the scenes of what it's like to interact with buyers and stores and editors and really show off a collection for the first time. This video, I thought it would be fun to take you through the creative process in the making of a dress. This collection is all about Rhinestone Cowboy this season. So you'll note that there's tons of Southwestern elements. You have Johnny Cash on the soundtrack, and we've got cactuses and succulents. The dresses are not made in the showroom. They're actually made over in my design office, which is where I'm gonna take you next, and we're gonna break down what it's like to create this dress from scratch. She's got some special talents. We're gonna unpack that later. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me. All right, so we are back in my design office, and I'm going to break down all the stages that almost every single gown goes through in its creation, or I should say her creation. First off, every single style is entirely unique in its evolution because it really depends on the elements that go into the dress. Some are heavily beaded or embellished, others have textured fabrics. Something like the dolly gown has a novelty fabric, which is really the most important aspect of the dress. So we are gonna start with stage one of the dolly gown, was actually creating the fabric. The coolest thing about the dolly gown is that it's created from our brand new eyelet-dyed organza fabric. And this is something that's been a year in the making because eyelets are typically made from cotton or linen. They tend to be a little more informal. So I wanted to create something that had the vibe of an eyelet but was still very luxurious and bridal worthy. So we decided to use an organza, and we typically start with some type of a reference. So we went shopping for fabrics and found a few cotton eyelets and then a few organza eyelets, and we realized that doing a laser technique would be the most efficient way to make the embroidery pop and give it that luxury we're looking for. We now have to think about exactly what this fabric will lend itself to silhouette-wise. So for this one, I knew I wanted to do both a ball gown and a fitted style, but because we were focusing on the dolly gown, this dress is really all about drama. That led to sketch development. So sketching is probably one of my favorite parts of the process because there's no harm, no foul. So I love doing a lot of derivative sketching where basically you have one idea and you create 10 different versions of that idea. So we'll change the neckline, we'll change the waistline, we'll think about the placement of the fabric perhaps, but really it's all about nailing the silhouette and figuring out where the design lines will go. For this gown, we actually went off of the Markle gown, which is one of my personal favorites off the Haley Page collection. And I thought that this shape could really lend itself to an eyelet organza. One thing to note about sketches is that they also go through their own evolution. You'll see that my primary sketches always have so much cross out and scratch marks and little details and written notes. Eventually, it molds into something that resembles the dress. We took some elements from this dress and this pattern to create the dolly gown, but of course, Dolly is her own special personality, and we wanted to make sure that the neckline shape was really paying attention to this fabulous scallop that we created at the edge of the fabric. So the neckline is slightly different, and of course the weight of the fabric is also different. So now that we have our sketch and we have our idea, the next stage is to take it to the pattern maker and talk about the first dimensional quality of this dress. So we know that we're pulling from the Markle pattern, so the first thing that we are going to do is pull All right, so the pattern stage is really where the dimensional quality comes to life. And for the dolly gown, it really has a lot to do with the fabric placement. So we've already pulled the Markle pattern, and what we're doing right now is dissecting various moments from that pattern that we want to use to incorporate into this dress. For the most part, we're basically recreating an entirely new look. There's a lot of math that actually goes into this stage. So when they say that you would never use geometry again, think again. We use it every single day. There's also a lot of complexity here because we're working both dimensionally when it comes to draping and also flat pattern making, where everything kind of has to true and match up together. So once we've signed off on our pattern and everything is starting to really take shape, we go over to the construction stage where we figure out the mechanics and the layering of the dress. So there are infinite number of possibilities when it comes to the layering of a gown. And for me, this is probably one of the hardest stages because we're always looking at smaller swatches and the coloring can look so much different when it's in a full ball gown. A lot of times we sew the dress up and realize we need to change the lining or add some layers to it. So there's a lot of complexity here. Another thing to note is that when it comes to construction, we really want the dress to feel like it's molding to the body. So it's really important to pay attention to bowing, bust cups, closures, ways to get in and out of the dress that's gonna be comfortable yet functional, and it all kind of has to work together. So we've decided for the dolly gown that we're gonna do 2 colorway options. One that has a cashmere lining that gives more of a skin tone, and another option that is ivory ivory. Once we have our layering, we attach it to the pattern, send it down for cut. It comes back up with every single layer intact, and we give it to our sewing team. Now we are at one of the final stages in the making of a gown, and it involves a lot of handwork and craftsmanship. We use amazing industrial sewing machines that help us get the jobs done, but it is really so involved and so meticulous as each individual layer comes together. Now, once our dress is completely sewn up, we throw her back on the mannequin to see her for the very first time all sewn up. But the most important thing is to throw her on a beautiful body. So we bring in our fit model, whatever size pattern we made, and we basically assess the situation. Now, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, the dolly gown has some special talents. And what I meant by that is that at the very final stage in making this gown, we decided that we didn't want her to just be a ball gown. We wanted her to have some versatility. So we decided to detach the underskirt from the top layer and essentially create a 2-in-1 dress that has interchangeability and 2 looks in one. So you can either wear her as a big ball gown, or you can take out the underskirt and rock her as a high-low with a pair of cowboy boots, which is exactly what we did on the runway. This is just a testament to how the making of a dress is so important at every single stage. I hope you enjoyed the process in the making of a gown. I actually have to head back over to my showroom because I have another round of market appointments. It is New York Bridal Fashion Week after all. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time on Just Got Paged. Don't forget to subscribe.